crucial is the Bangladesh challenge when it comes to India's foreign policy topmost priorities this year and the challenges overall?
It's a very major relationship, and this is definitely a very, very big challenge for the coming year.
What is your current reading of the plight of minorities in the country to begin with?
The worst attack in my view was after BNP came to power in 2001. There were months and months of attacks on minority community. Some steps to curb this, because after all they're their citizens and it is their duty primarily above all else to take care of all their citizens. Every time there is this fight between two political forces, there is always an attempt to rewrite history.
What happens next vis-a-vis Sheikh Hasina? Hello and a warm welcome to my YouTube station, Smita Sharma Journalist. A very happy new year to all our subscribers, people who have been a part of my journey here. And this is the first conversation that I'm putting out here in the new year. I'm joined by a special guest, Ambassador Riva Ganguly Das, who has been a career diplomat. She served particularly in Bangladesh in various senior positions, has also served in senior roles in the Ministry of External Affairs. Many thanks for joining us here. And you are joining me here, of course, to talk about the first big area of concern for India when it comes to its foreign policy focus and challenges, which is Bangladesh. How has the year started for you?
Good, and wishing all your viewers also Happy New Year.
Thank you so much.
I feel so honored that you're interviewing me as the first program in the new year.
I got a little lazy, so I didn't put out anything on first. But it's to our viewers. I know many of you do subscribe to my YouTube station too, because you want more content on foreign policy, and that's a promise I am making. You will have more bilingual foreign policy content moving forward. So stay with us and keep supporting us here in our endeavors. But to start off the conversation with Bangladesh, we've seen what has transpired in 2024. The former Prime Minister, the ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, is still very much in the national capital region. How crucial is the Bangladesh challenge when it comes to India's foreign policy topmost priorities this year and the challenges overall?
It's a very big challenge, I must say, because from being from the relation being in a golden chapter, we suddenly find ourselves, very, very controversial player there. All the anger against Sheikh Hasina, which a large part of which is on the basis of domestic issues like price rise and lack of freedom of expression, lack of democracy. All that anger has fallen on India's head, because we are seen as the ones on the strength of which Sheikh Hasina is supposed to have perpetuated herself. So it's a very difficult situation for us from from a neighbor with which we share more than 4,000 kilometers of border. 5 of our states have international border with Bangladesh. There are more than 30 land customs stations between our two countries, 2 major ICPs,
integrated checkposts.
So it's a very major relationship, and this is definitely a very, very big challenge for the coming year.
Having said that, I mean, also, of course, Bangladesh for the last 10 years was the rare stable story for us in the neighborhood when it came to South Asia. We were dealing with all kinds of firefighting challenges from Pakistan to Maldives, Myanmar, Afghanistan. The recent statements that have been made by officials within Bangladesh, including the army chief, who's just given an interview to Prothomalo, a leading newspaper, and said a lot of positive things about India, Bangladesh being interdependent, whether it is on medical visas, whether it is on work visas. Does that send out a positive note as the year starts, that at least the government will make sure that its soil is not used for cross-border terrorism, for anti-India, activities?
It's time will tell how that will pan out, but I see that responsible people in the government have often said that it's a relationship where both countries benefit. Though they, in the public perception, the perception of the public is that India benefits more from the relationship than Bangladesh benefits. It's a debate which can go on and on forever. I don't agree with that at all, and I think it's a narrative which which has been built over many, many years in Bangladesh, that India takes unfair advantage of its neighbor. I don't think so at all. Especially in terms of, look at trade. Bangladesh increased its trade from 1 billion to 2 billion. 1 billion increase in a matter of just 4 years. We have given complete duty-free, quota-free entry to Bangladeshi goods into India, except for 2 items. So, this is we've given a lot of, facilities to Bangladesh. Visa is very easy to get. Now, of course, in changed circumstances because of security reasons, I think many of our visa offices are closed. So overall, I should say that both sides have been saying, and I think Foreign Secretary's visit was very important. I've heard the Foreign Policy Advisor, Mr. Tawhid Hussain, also say that relationship with India is beneficial to both countries, and it's an important relationship, and we should move ahead. And our High Commissioner, of course.
So both Mr. Pranay Lal Burma, our High Commissioner for Security Vikram Misri, they've all been making measured statements.
Yeah.
Will it have an impact on people out on the streets, also on the protesters who took to the streets in August last year? Is there a sense of disillusionment with the current Yunus government? These statements by whether it's our officials or the Bangladeshi officials, do you think they'll percolate down to the masses and have a positive impact?
I hope so, though now it seems that at the level of the people and in the social media, in press, everywhere, there are very few voices which speak for India-Bangladesh relation, very few voices which speak for India. I think it will take a little time for this to settle down. The perception again that India helped Sheikh Hasina stay on in power and deny democratic rights to its own citizens, that perception, that narrative has got very strongly entrenched. And I think some solid developments in our bilateral relationship, when that is demonstrated, I think this perception will recede a little.
What steps can India can take at this point in time, do you think? Additional steps, We are also seeing, of course, the scholarships for students through ICCR, that continues. But do you think there needs to be more sort of a focus on youth in particular, trying to get more exchange programs done? Are there any suggestions that you can float here in terms of what can Delhi do?
I think, medical visa normalization will go a long way in, because even now medical visas are being given, but still it's not restricted. Mostly people who have follow-up visits, etc., they are getting their visas. Medical visa, I think the sheer benefits of economic engagement, that has to be demonstrated. And it is true that our trade was I think 18 billion, and Ramadan is coming. During Ramadan, a lot of essential commodities come from India, onion, garlic, red chilies and stuff like that. So I think over a period of time, as relationships normalize a little, we've got more than 50 bilateral mechanisms between our two countries. When these mechanisms also start moving forward, the smaller groups start meeting, I think things will improve. And of course, a lot will depend upon when elections will be held and how stable Bangladesh itself is domestically.
Also, we need to remember we are living in the times of the online media, that burst of information. There's a whole bunch of misinformation, disinformation that's happening. There's propaganda that's happening from extreme groups on both sides, and one needs to really sift the substance from the rhetoric in a lot of ways. So coming to that very sensitive issue of the plight of minorities in Bangladesh. Now, when I was there in August last year, I came back and I did report, and all those reports are there on my YouTube station, that Indian media was exaggerating the numbers in terms of the number of people getting killed, or that the lines were blurred. Minorities were getting attacked, but the numbers were getting exaggerated. In the last 2-3 months in particular, there does seem to be, the situation has gone from bad to worse. What is your current reading of the plight of minorities in the country to begin with?
See, there is no doubt that minorities are getting attacked, and for some reason the Yunus government is also trying to deny it. I think a couple of weeks back I saw some figures issued by the Hindu, Buddha, Christian Oiko Parishad, the Oiko Parishad, HBCOP. They very meticulously collect information from district headquarters, from villages, from local level, and they have come up with a figure of more than 2,000 attacks. I don't immediately recall the number of deaths, but it's a very meticulous list that have been published by them. So there is no doubt that these attacks are taking place, and but it is also true that minority attacks is a part of that's something which happens quite often in Bangladesh, and even during the previous government attacks have taken place. After the worst attack in my view was after BNP came to power in 2001. There were months and months of attacks on minority community, and so I hope this will settle down very soon, and there is a lot of pressure on the government to take care of law and order. We have to also accept the fact that law and order is in a very bad situation in that country. I mean, mob violence is common, people are getting attacked, anybody with any Awami League connection is getting attacked, in fact killed, people have been killed. So this is it's a fact that minority community is getting attacked, and hopefully the government will take some steps to curb this, because after all they're citizens, and it is their duty primarily above all else to take care of all their citizens.
I mean, usually the counter response that one gets to here would be that, yes, it's not because the minorities are getting targeted. A lot of it is vengeful attacks on those who are affiliated with the Awami, and the minorities did happen to be affiliated with. So sometimes those, getting through that is very difficult. And the other thing that they turn around and say is that, look, India doesn't like interference in its domestic affairs. Every time somebody's tried doing it, you have been very prompt in putting out statements. And every day there are news headlines of minorities getting assaulted or attacked in India, whether it's Muslims or, say, for instance, Christians in Odisha. So does India have that moral right to be taking up this issue? I know Vikram Misri did raise this issue. How can India tread this issue, carefully moving forward?
India will have to take up this issue because, after all, it's our neighbor, absolute neighbor with, as I mentioned, 400 plus kilometers of boundary. 4,000 kilometers of shared boundary, and, ethnic identities on both sides, relationship, families which got divided during partition. And even now, if you go to the border areas, you'll find that half the families on Bangladesh side, half the families on Indian side, irrespective of whether they're Hindus or Muslims. So, that is a fact of life on the ground. So we certainly don't want a situation to develop where people start walking in the direction of our country. So this is something which has to be on the table as far as an.
But when the extreme Hindu right-wing groups sort of start raising this issue, put out posters saying ki aap Hindu minorities ko bachaiye, does this help foreign policy bilaterally? When it becomes such a domestic issue with certain extreme outfits here?
No, that certainly complicates foreign policy, but I think, that level of maturity always exists in any foreign office to, separate the domestic politics from what you do at the state-to-state level to take the relationship forward. After all, the relationship has many, many aspects.
So there was also a news today that how there is now an attempt in trying to rewrite history, the history of liberation, the 1971, where perhaps there is an attempt in trying to say that it's the BNP which actually fought for Bangladesh's liberation. If they do succeed, if this does happen, the coming generations, the future generations, the millennials, and of course then I'm forgetting the term, I think it's Gen Alpha or Beta. How do you see them perceiving the Delhi-Dhaka equation? Will it impact the way they see India as, this big country in South Asia and as their immediate neighbor? Will there be increased hostility?
See, in a way, this is history repeating itself, because after Sheikh Mujib's assassination, when multiple coups took place, and then eventually General Zia came to power, established power properly. During that period, right up to the period when Ershad's government was taken down by the combined efforts of the Begum Zia and Sheikh Hasina, the history, or the entire history, was rewritten. They rewrote their history books. I've met people in Bangladesh who said that they learnt about Sheikh Mujib's role in the liberation war only when they turned 22, 23, when Ershad was gone and when history was rewritten. So Bangladesh has rewritten its history. In fact, the students' movement, some of the leaders of the students' movement now even want to deny the 71 war. They want the history to be taken right back up to 47.
In fact, many of them, in their conversations with me when I was in Dhaka and on the ground, they were very angry about Mujib's subsequent efforts in sort of making it into a uni-party system in Bangladesh, or in terms of cracking down on freedom of expression. So there's a lot of channeling out of that anger amongst the younger generations there now.
That's true. I think, the whole, in fact, I would say personally that that is the root of a lot of problems that Bangladesh has, because, there is no reconciliation on history. Every time there is this fight between two political forces, there is always an attempt to rewrite history. And till such time as Bangladesh, the country itself, the population, is able to reconcile on this basic political on these basic political issues, till such time, their politics of retribution will continue. It's very sad, but this has happened so many times in the past. Right. But at some stage, they will have to sit together and decide that this is my history and this is what I'm proud of. No leaders can have flaws. I mean, many leaders can have flaws, but you still can't deny their obvious contribution.
But though of course this is not something that is very unique to Bangladesh. Remember, every country that goes through a domestic turmoil, even India included, I mean, we have seen attempts at rewriting large sections of our history, or the way in fact certain individuals were perceived as somebody who were, whether they were a freedom fighter or not. That entire attempt at narratives, I think that does happen as societies evolve, change. There is a push and pull. Just the final question, Ambassador Das, what happens next vis-a-vis Sheikh Hasina? I mean, because there is a formal extradition notice that has been put forward citing Bangladesh's criminal court notice. What are India's options here if Sheikh Hasina continues to remain? Of course, all the political parties are united on the fact that they're not going to throw her away, ask her to go away. We've had a long-standing relationship. But will it continue to remain a thorn in the flesh when it comes to bilateral ties with Bangladesh then?
Given Tawheed Hussein's statement, I think yesterday or day before, saying that it is one of the issues, but it will not come in the way of improving relationship. I think they will take a practical view on this, knowing the history of our relationship, the history of Sheikh Hasina's own relationship with our leadership. And I think, we do have that degree of political, maturity and a practical sense of to take the relationship forward while dealing with a complex issue like this. Because, see, at the end of the day, it will have to be a political decision. It's not going to be based on the written word of the treaty. So I think time will tell how this is going to pan out.
Do you think there will be an attempt by Pakistan in particular to exploit the plummeting ties or the challenges in ties? There are upcoming visits coming up, where the leadership is going to Malaysia and then to Bangladesh. And the army chief, in fact, the Bangladeshi military chief, General Waqar, he also spoke about China in a very positive tone. He said that, just the fact that Bangladesh, just like India, also has its own transactions with China. So it's a part of the Belt and Road Initiative to the Chinese BRI project. So how do you see that equation shaping up?
See, obviously Pakistan and China will try to take advantage of the situation which is there. They're in fact already taking advantage. I have never seen the Pakistanis so active in Dhaka as they are right now, meeting people. I don't think anybody ever gave them interviews.
But do you think a lot of people misread China? Because, my sense, and a lot of people who understand China also understand that China does not like volatility where it is dealing in countries. So China doesn't actually like to create troubles per se. Am I wrong in that reading, that they would rather have a stable country where they're going in and doing business, even if it's leading to a debt trap situation, then in that perspective, maybe the Pakistani approach will be different from the Chinese approach of what they want to do in Bangladesh?
I think Pakistan will not find it difficult to deal with a situation like this, because after all they are also whatever way you characterize that political system, they know what political parties do, but China is totally unfamiliar with this having different political parties. It's too cacophonous for them, and for them securing their investments, I think, will come primary over everything else. So for them, political stability will be a very important thing, and I think they're a relatively newcomer to the region. They've started taking interest in the region. With the BRI, that was the big push that they did. But their primary interest has always been to save their investments, because after all, they don't have the kind of stakes in a country like Bangladesh that maybe we have. They don't have a boundary. They don't have people-to-people relation to it's all made up. It's all been constructed now in modern times, whereas we have an organic relationship going back to years. So it's very different.
And with Donald Trump taking charge in the White House, do you think Delhi will have to have a different kind of a conversation on Dhaka, or Delhi should? What kind of a dynamic do you think sort of can shape up Delhi, Dhaka, DC?
Well, firstly, it's very difficult to predict what President Trump will do, but it is certainly, the one fact is very clear, that the kind of relationship that Professor Yunus had with the Democratic Party, and especially with the Clintons, and the reception that he got in the US when he went there for the UNGA, that is not going to be replicated with this administration. So time will tell how this will pan out, but certainly, they will also be very cautious, and they will be watching the situation very closely.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing all these insights with us on the first conversation of the new year on my YouTube station. And आप में से जिन लोगों को लग रहा है कि हमने हिंदी में बातचीत नहीं की है, एम्बेसडर दास को मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि आने वाले दिनों में हम लाइव स्ट्रीम करेंगे, ताकि हिंदी में आप लोग अपने सवाल भी इनसे पूछ सके सीधे तौर पर, और उन सवालों के जवाब को भी हम ढूंढ सके. But many thanks for now, and wish you all the best and a happy 2025.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much of all of you for being a part of this journey. And if you like the content, do subscribe, share, and do press on the bell icon notification so that you're alerted every time we go live on the station. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.